Yep, we're reviewing this game again. Now, if you've been here on the channel for a while, you know that this was the first re-review I ever posted to this channel. But that's actually not the first time I reviewed Def Jam Icon. I first reviewed this game back in March of 2023, which that video is terrible, please do not watch it. Now, I've made way too many Def Jam Icon videos on this channel to count, and at this point, I'm just the Def Jam Icon guy. So, I'll put it to you like this in AVG terms. This is the Jekyll of Hyde of my channel. Now, why don't we take a re-look back at Def Jam Icon?
Alright, let me just address the elephant in the room. I like this game, but at the end of the day, it's still a terribly flawed and arguably terrible game. I think this game could have used a 6-month delay or even a year delay, and I'll talk more about that in the end of this video. But by reading some of the original comments on the original video, a lot of you guys genuinely like this game, and to me, that's awesome. I do think this game has some sort of weird resurgence happening where people are saying it's not that bad, which is very interesting to see. Now, it's interesting when writing this video, I couldn't find anything about Icon's development. All I could find that was sort of interesting was that originally the game was going to be called Def Jam Switch. But we can go off what we do know. The game was developed by EA Chicago and not Aki. EA Chicago made Fight Night Round 3, the first boxing game made for the 7th generation of consoles. And a lot of the Fight Night influences carry over into this game, like mixing up body and head blocks and the damage model made their way into this game. Now, we need to talk about this game's director, Hideo Sonoda. If you're watching this thinking, why does this game barely have any wrestling? Well, it's because of this man. Hideo himself stated that he didn't think that wrestling and hip-hop meshed well together. He clearly had never played the first 2 games. Oh, and he's the man behind this masterpiece.
You ever wonder what the bottom of an Avatar shoe looks like? Well, bam! There it is.
One of the biggest changes made to the gameplay model was that EA Chicago decided that they wanted to have the music feature a bigger role in the game, with the UI and stages all reacting to the bass of the music, and this is a stylistic choice that I actually really like. When a song is bumping in the background, and it makes you feel like you can feel the music, if that makes any sense.
Now, the gameplay in Def Jam Icon has been heavily criticized for years, and maybe it's warranted. I don't feel it's that terrible, but at times it can be very clunky and weighty, if that makes any sense.
For one, we have this game's brand new gimmick of the turntable. A lot of people don't like this, and I can see why. The game isn't really clear on how to do it, which is a very big problem when you introduce a brand new mechanic. But the premise is this: you hold down L2 and spin the right and left stick to change the song. Now, the idea is actually pretty cool, but the execution is kind of mediocre. And for the actual fighting, it's fine, just fine. There's only 6 fighting styles that all have the same moves and grabs, meaning that someone like young Jeezy is going to fight exactly like E40 with no, differences. Grabs are now performed by flicking up the right stick and hitting down the D-pad to do grapples and strikes. Now, there's not really that many wrestling moves. The only fighting style that has the wrestling moves is the beatboxer fighting style, which is kind of a shame, honestly. Even the roster gets a major downgrade with only 29 playable characters compared to Fight for New York's 60-something. What happened? I know that licensing can be a pain in the ass, but this is tragic. I do like this game's roster regardless, with some new rappers that didn't appear in any previous titles. Some of my all-time favorite rappers of all time, like T.I., Jeezy, and Game, make their only video game appearance. Well, minus the Game, because he was in 2K that one year. Some other video game debuts include the likes of Jim Jones, Paul Wall, Bun B, Mike Jones, and more. Ludacris, Method Man, and Redman appear in this game, making them the only artists to appear in all 3 mainline Def Jam games. There's actually a secret unlockable character. This game features Fat Joe. If you put in a cheat code to unlock him, you can actually play as Joey Crack himself, but it can't be saved. Meaning, every time you want to use Fat Joe when you restart the game, you have to put the code in. I don't know if they want this on purpose, or they forgot how to make it save and ran out of time, but overall, I do kind of like how this game has a secret unlockable. Now, I think at times the gameplay can be fine and very fluid, but I also understand and even agree with the criticism this game's combat gets. Another criticism is this game's lack of venues. With only 7, it's pretty bad. Yeah, 106 in Park is cool, but why is there only this many? What happened? Like, I'm no game dev, I have no experience in game development at all, but why were they lacking this much content? And the visuals are a mixed bag. It looks like a 2007 EA game. Like, they insist on putting these god-awful filters on the screen sometimes. It'll either be black and white, color flipped, or oversaturated.
Like, how would you like it if I conducted the rest of the review like this? No, you wouldn't, would you?
The characters look really good, however, with their faces actually looking like them in semi-realistic form. Now, one of the many charms that Fight for New York had, in my opinion, was that they looked like the rappers, but in a cartoony art style, if that makes any sense. The story mode, in my opinion, is actually pretty good. Build a Label sees you create a custom character to your liking, and pretty much become a record executive, signing talent and managing the finances towards their music. Clearly, this game has nothing to do with Fight for New York story-wise, but sometimes the custom character will shout "You ain't crow" during fights, which is a cool little reference. And the character customization is actually really good here, with individual sliders akin to Saints Row's detailed customization. Now, sadly, we don't get to choose a player voice, but the voice actor Avery Waddell does do a great job, in my opinion. Even the player customization, like their outfits, is great, with it having a layers feature where any shirt can be worn under any hoodie or jacket. They were able to license a bunch of real-life clothing brands such as Adidas, 8732, which was actually Jeezy's clothing line, Echo, and even Jordan brand. This game features every Air Jordan shoe up to 21, with some of them having alternate colorways. Even this game's jewelry looks good and clear. Tattoos are also present, but they kinda suck, and I really am kinda nitpicking here, but I wish we could have gotten sleeves like resizing tattoos, but honestly, for something that small, it's fine. But the actual main story involved is pretty good. Like I said, you manage finances, you put out people's music, and obviously get into fistfights. I think it's funny that the main character is played by Anthony Anderson, Troy Dollar, which a lot of y'all said that he was a bad fit for the villain, but I actually thought he did a pretty good job in his role, but that's just my opinion.
Now, obviously, there was no sequel because of how poorly Icon 1 did, but maybe you've potentially heard of Icon 2 put on the internet. Well, I played it. I have played the prototype of Def Jam Icon 2. If you remember January of 2024, I made a video talking about some of the stuff that was going to be in Icon 2 off the wiki. Well, someone commented on my video saying they had a playable version. Thanks to the uploader Kenzo Games, you can now play the prototype of Icon 2 on a Xenia or Xbox 360 emulator. So let's talk about what Icon 2 could have potentially been.
Well, it's obviously a prototype, so there isn't much to talk about, but what we can talk about is pretty interesting. Judging by the gameplay and me playing it myself, I can honestly say this could have been a big improvement upon Icon 1. It still keeps the music theme from Icon of the first game, but it looks cool in my opinion. Now, this prototype only features 3 game modes: Throwdown, which is your basic fight mode, Obey, which is what I guess would have been the game's story mode, and UCM, which crashes the game. Jumping into the gameplay, there are only 2 selectable characters, TI and Playa. The gameplay feels completely different as the controls aren't the same, and bringing up the controls option just brings up Icon 1's layout as a placeholder. As you can see, the gameplay is more fast and arcade-like, and we even have the return of actual wrestling moves, which is nice to see. It also appears that there's no DJ mechanic in this game, so it either was not going to come back or just was not developed yet. Selecting Obey, it brings you into a fight where you play as the player character and fight TI, which that's really it. One of the pro tips also says wear deodorant, which I find to be random as hell, but also oddly hilarious. Now, one thing I also noticed is that the AI was not programmed to fight back. It just lets you sit there and wail on it, which, again, this is a prototype, so I can't really put this as a complaint. But from what we do have, I actually like where this game was going, adding some more of the wrestling elements back, but combining... I would like to think it was going to combine Icon 1 with Fight for New York, but that's probably completely inaccurate, and no former EA dev has talked about what this game was going to be, and they probably never will, so we'll just have to speculate.
I think it's a great shame that this game flopped and that Icon 2 didn't come out, as I think that Icon 2 could have been a better version of Icon 1. But leave your own opinion on what you think about this game's lasting legacy, and if you're new here, check out some of my other reviews, and I'll see you in the next video. Take care.